Do not be scared to fail. Do not be scared to dare. On the other side of whatever anxiety you're feeling is something bigger, is something greater. Be as loud as you can be. The world will try to shut you up, but please don't shut up. Be a busybody if you need to be. Growing up, how many of us believe that if your tooth falls and you throw it on top of your roof, it's going to grow back? Oh wow, we have a good number. So what changed? I sometimes think that adulthood is a curse because it just makes you so careful. You're so careful of doing this, you're so careful of doing that. And at the end of the day, you realize that time is passing, time is going, and you're just stuck in one position because you're scared to leap. You're scared to take that leap of faith. You're scared to dream wild. You're scared to let your imaginations go as wild as it can. The first time I told my mom I wanted to do something that was different from, what she thought I would do, what an African parent would think their child would do, my mom was shocked. She was surprised and she was like, no, you're not going to do that. And I remember, going to the university, doing law, leaving law school, and just thinking to myself, I don't think this is what I want to do. I think I want to do something that is authentic to me. I think I want to do something that is Mina, something that is me, not anybody else. Said at the time, a non-existent industry. And I called it the PR in law industry. And have you ever tried to explain something to somebody and they're like, what are you even talking about? How many of us have tried to, maybe you have a vision and you're trying to explain it to somebody and they're like, okay, and they don't even understand it. So that was me for the longest time. I'm talking 2, 3, 4 years. I was still trying to explain this vision to people, still trying to explain this big idea to people, and nobody understood what I was talking about. And some people would even ask me, how dare you try to break, the normal tradition that has existed over time? How dare you try to do something different? I got that a lot in my industry because people thought it was strange for you to spend that long, that number of years studying law, and then suddenly you don't want to do law again. You want to create something different, But I dared to push beyond boundaries. I dared to get out of the fences that society had built, for me. I remember that the first time I got my first job in PR, it was for a big person in Nigeria, a very big personality in Nigeria. First time I got that job to do something for him, I remember sitting to myself, just thinking aloud, sitting down, just thinking aloud to myself. I mean, how am I even going to pull this off, For the most part of my career, people have questioned this very thing I'm doing. So how am I going to do it? And many of us sitting in this room, we have those questions of how am I going to do it? Many times people call it imposter syndrome. You can do this thing. It's something you've probably done before, but because of the personality involved, you start doubting yourself. There's that thing of self-doubt. There's that thing of talking yourself down because, you're just like, how will I pull this thing through? But I always tell people that on the other side of fear, on the other side of whatever anxiety you're feeling, is something bigger, is something greater, right? There are possibilities. And for you to grow in life, you must move towards those possibilities that scare you. Things that ordinarily, people would think it's crazy. It's crazy for you to think you can do this. When you say to someone, I want to change the world, or when you say, oh, I want to change Nigeria, how many of us have said that? I will become the president one day and I will bring change. How many of us? Okay, we have a few hands. So including me, I say it every time. And then people will look at you and say, see the problem of this country. It is deeply rooted in the system. And for you to change the country, it's going to take hundreds of years. It's going to take centuries. But there are still people like me who still believe that it is possible. So how many of us in this room still believe it is possible to change Nigeria? How many of us believe Nigeria can be better next year? Good. I love the belief in this room. A round of applause for yourself, please. That's what we're talking about. Today we insult Elon Musk. Most times we see his tweets and we think, this guy is really deranged. But one thing I love about Elon Musk? Elon is bold to take any risk. It doesn't matter what it will cost him, Elon will go towards it. Even if it scares him, Elon will go towards it. And Elon has been able to create different industries and sort of create a path for people who are, looking to go as wild as possible, right? Elon has created something in the automobile industry, in space exploration, Elon Musk is there. In software development, Elon Musk is there. Elon Musk is like everywhere around us, right? Many of us use Twitter, right? We've heard of electric cars, electric vehicles by Tesla, right? We've heard of his spacecraft, his spaceships. I mean, that's one single man who thinks it is possible to create different things. That's one single man who thinks anything is possible. Just dream it, just think it, and you can achieve it. There's a woman I love so much, Oprah Winfrey. Oprah is one of the richest women in the world. But guess what? Oprah came from poverty. And Oprah was told she did not have a future in reality TV, right? Because she was black, she was fat, she did not fit their idea of what the perfect media person, should look like. And so Oprah was turned down a number of times. But what happened? Oprah redefined TV. Oprah redefined the media space, redefined reality TV, right? Now, that is somebody that thought beyond her situation, that thought beyond what people thought she could do or what people thought she could not do. And I always say that we should live in our own reality. You don't need the permission of anyone to shine. You don't need my permission to do what you want to do or to do what God has called you to do. You don't need anybody's validation. You just need to do it. And people would automatically lean into that thing that God has called you to do. Like I said, I created a non-existent industry, and currently, by the grace of God, we have grown to be the number one when it comes to PR and media within the legal industry, right? Now, that is someone that thought that this was possible. At the time when people doubted me, at the time when people said, how dare you, how dare you? In fact, till now, I still have issues with a number of people who, saw what I was doing and thought I had probably spoiled business for them. Like I said, people who were in the traditional line. And, I want to say this today, we must be open to evolving with the time, right? You must be open to evolving. Growth starts at that place where, you give yourself that opportunity to bloom, right? You give yourself that opportunity to fly. You give yourself that opportunity to experience all there is to experience. Failure is a part of life. You're going to fail a number of times, but I always tell people, failure is not failure in itself. It's an experiment. So every time you fail, right, you come back and you do that thing better. So failure is like a learning ground for you. Failure is a learning curve. Failure is that place that teaches you that there's some possibility that exists beyond this. So I want to leave you with this today. Do not be scared to fail. Do not be scared to dare. Do not be scared to dream. Because everything you want, everything you desire is on the other side of fear. Put yourself out there. Be as authentic as you can be as loud as you can be. The world will try to shut you up, but please don't shut up. Be a busybody if you need to be. When you go into spaces like this, try to make your brand known. When you come into a place like this, what are you coming? What is your intention? Most of us come here and we leave this place without any impact, without any value, because we don't come open to get anything. So I want to say this, keep an open mind. We're going to have a wonderful time today. And I'm also hoping to, connect with some of us. Thank you so much for having me.